Dear Kismet helps you dive into the mysteries behind cardology, or the astrology and numerology of the playing cards. We answer questions from our tribe and discuss world events and celebrities, all through the lens of this magical, ancient system. Our goal? To help you align with what is written in your cards and to raise the collective consciousness of the planet. If you go to our website, itiskismet.com, and enter your birthday, you'll get to your card's one-stop shop where you will find a 15-page report on your card and much, much more. You can also go to our site to find the cosmic connections, also known as the planetary energies, between you and another person. Now is the time for cardology to become as encoded in the collective energy as astrology and numerology are. So please tell your friends about Kismet. Hey everybody, welcome back to Dear Kismet. We are going with these shorter episodes, so it's one topic per episode. And my name is Laura, and I'm here with
Candy
and Paula.
And today we are talking about the suits. So Candy's going to let us know what our question is from our viewer.
Yes, this is a super fun question because it truly can impact all of us, and we probably have had this question whether we realize it or not. The question is, Dear Kismet, I've noticed that I have several folks in my life that are other suits. Just like we have unique cards that carry specific characteristics, do suits have their own set of characteristics, and do they impact each other?
Let's start with the hearts, Paula.
Okay, something that I would like to point out before we move on, in terms of identifying yourself, so you look up your card and you go, okay, I'm the Four of Spades, but I'm really, I'm obsessed with information. What does that mean? Okay, here's the reason for that. Okay, I'm going to explain this. And if you don't get it, don't worry about it. It's kind of technical information. But under your card, this whole spread sits under this spread, and they go in order. So here are the hearts, here are the clubs, the diamonds, and the spades. So like my card is right here, which means most of my hand, here's my card, most of my hand, I have hearts sitting underneath it. So your entire hand will be composed of probably one suit or predominantly one suit.
Hang on a second. Even though Paula is a diamond, she's a 7 of diamonds, what she's saying is her card and its hand sits over a bunch of hearts. So she's got a lot of heart energy going on. So she might actually identify a little bit more with hearts.
Exactly, exactly. And also there are stages of your life where you're going to sort of discover a particular suitness about you. So during my childhood, I was much more identified with the heart, and now I still have a very strong child archetype, but I've grown into a diamond, and I sort of skipped over the clubs, and I need clubs in my life because they're witty and they're funny and they're adolescent and they're detached and they don't take it seriously and they're really rebellious, and diamonds are very much about how it should be. So let's go back to the hearts a second, and keep in mind too, you have every suit in your hand. So you have these aspects expressing in different areas of your life. But anyway, the people who are predominantly hearts, it's a water energy. It's associated with feelings and emotions, like Laura said. They tend to be much more emotionally attached to things. They work with sticky kind of attachment issues a little bit more. But they're also very tuned into their heart, and they can't do anything unless it feels right. And they can be childlike and pouty and immature. And when they, like their argument style, when they kind of go into this resistance or whatever, it's usually pouty and poor me, and I'm not getting what I want, and nobody cares about my needs. And oh my God, okay, I'm telling my own story. That's me.
That's funny. All right, let's check and see what the clubs are, because I can pretty much relate to whatever you're going to say about this, I'm sure.
Okay, so here are some famous 10 of clubs, maybe to give you an idea or a reference point. Shirley MacLaine, Madonna, Joseph Campbell, and Nelson Mandela are all the 10 of clubs. Now, there's a 10 of clubs particularity about those big people, but there's also a preoccupation with the head and the mind and consciousness that you might be able to see filter through. So yes, clubs are, it's the air element. They're dedicated to the mind, to the concept, to the belief. They need things to make sense. And they can really ground a group of people, or they can, you know, like sometimes I'll listen to a podcast and I'll get kind of swept away by the emotion of it, or that's the aspect I'm tuning into, maybe we could say, and then I share it with Laura and she's like, no, there's inconsistencies in there. Like he totally contradicts himself. First he says this and then he says this, and I'm like, wow, you're right. I had no I have no sense of the pulse of that mental perspective. So sometimes they can get caught up in their head and they would rather think their way through their feelings than kind of back up into, ouch, this hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the adolescent aspect means that they're always open to the new. They're curious, they're learning, they're in a learning stage of their life where like there's always more. They love workshops, they love the latest book, the latest approach, you know, whatever. It's like they just dive in. And I've always been so jealous of that. It's like, God, it'll take me 2 months to read a book because it has to feel right for me to, you know, and I have 3 books going at a time, or 5, because I can only read what I'm in the mood for. Yeah, school was kind of hard, but anyway.
Well, I was going to say that I've noticed, like, since I've been learning about the cards, I've noticed how much of my life revolves around, I have to know all this information first. It's even how I shop. I'll go into a store. I've got to go through the whole thing, see everything that's in there, and then I can dive in. If I don't have all the information to make a decision, then like I can't make it. I have to get on the website, learn everything, and then go and find the decision. And I'm always finding myself saying things like, well, I don't know, I have to find that out, or I don't have enough information. It's always the language I use is so consistent with that idea of knowledge and information. Like it just made me realize how like embedded my clubness is in my life.
Right. And that brings up so many interesting points in my head. One of them is that if I really want to find out how Laura's doing, I should discipline myself to say, what do you think about that? When my tendency is to say, how do you feel about that? So, you know, that's something to consider in your relationships. Are you speaking your language, or can you make an effort maybe to speak their language a little bit more? Can you hear what they're saying through the filter of their suit? So another thing you brought out is decision. If you are trying to figure out what your main modality is, think about how you make a decision. What makes you comfortable enough to step over that edge and do it? Okay, so diamonds represent the adult phase of life when we're making really important decisions in our life based on values, which really is desire, and also the whole realm of ethics and integrity. Integrity is really important to them. So when they're annoyed and they're in a fight mode and they're in resistance or fear, they'll go to words like should, or this is what's more important, or we really need to prioritize what we're doing here. And they'll sermonize at their partner, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. So should is a big word for them.
We should all over ourselves.
Yeah, Candy's laughing because she's actually a double diamond, so she has a lot of diamond energy.
A lot, yes.
So does that resonate,
Nailed
Candy,
it.
what Paul is saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've should all over my entire life, and it's okay. And everything is about my value system. So I think probably as diamonds, we all have our own unique value system, but whatever, and I even hear the words coming out of my mouth now, like, what's the value? You know, is it worth my time? Is it important? Where do I prioritize? I too have multiple books going, but it's because of where I am and what I feel on a certain day decides the value that I place on what book I want to open up. So like, it's just blah, so much craziness that's just dead on with the suits.
The question constantly, what's the most important book? What's the most important information? What should I be reading right now? It's like, oh my God, I know. So it can be kind of a burden, but they can also bring that perspective to a group of saying, you know, what is the value that needs to be expressed here? What is really the most important thing happening here? And sometimes they can tune into that more than the other types. It's like, okay, let's get the big picture and so in the pinnacle position of the deck, in this one spread, we have the 8 of diamonds, because the diamond will say, what's the most important thing here? So I'm going to say that they desperately need hearts to get them in touch with their feelings so that they can cry because they've been beating themselves up. And they need clubs to lighten it up and say, let's laugh at yourself. So that's one way the suits interact. So yes,
yeah, that's
spades.
good. Spades, yeah. So just let's jump right into spades. And we don't have any spades here, but we all know spades, so we can probably talk about that a little bit. Paula, tell us generally what spades are like.
Right, yeah. And if you have a spade in your hand somewhere, tune into that aspect of your life. But anyway, spades are the sage. They're at a remove. You know when you're with a spade because they don't respond right away, verbally, emotionally, mentally. You can feel the wheels are turning, but they don't respond right away because they're so holistic. The spade, if you think of the shape of the spade, which is on our little Kismet logo, they have the stem of the club, the bottom half is the lobes of the heart, and the top is the diamond. So they contain, and like a leaf, it looks like a leaf. A leaf contains carbon and air and water, all these things required to make life. Well, no, carbon is what it is, but the light, the fire is the other element. So anyway, the spades include all those suits, and so they're assembling all of those pieces of information, and then what they contribute is action. They're like, we just need to figure out what we're going to do. And they have to work in groups because we need them so desperately, but they tend to be loners. They tend to be pretty comfortable alone because they've got all these suits operating in themselves and they kind of know how to handle it. Sometimes they can be arrogant, condescending, curmudgeon-y, and when they're in resistance or fear, or their argument style is just like, talk to the butt, and they just walk away. And they're so disdainful, and I always feel so shamed by them. So like, this is something else to consider, is whatever your suit is, do you have a feeling of aspiring to the suit that's above you, the next stage up? Like, I look at spades, I need to become more critical and cynical about spades because I have too much respect for them. I'm like, oh, they know more, they're in this position of blah, blah, blah. And it's because I'm aspiring to be a little more holistic in my thinking. So Laura, is that true for you as a club? Do you think in terms of, I don't know.
My inner teenager thinks diamonds are like too adulty.
Nice! Well, I think that teenagers.
Someone's got to be responsible. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Diamond responds.
Well, we gave the 4 archetypes, or we gave these 4 suits. We call them the misbehaving archetypes. So this is like when you're not in your highest self. So like we gave the hearts, the toddler as its archetype. That's how they respond when they're not really responding from like a high place. And then we gave the clubs the teen angster, because they get into that like teenage kind of like rebellion stage. And then the diamond we gave judge and jury because they're preaching and sermonizing. And then the spade we gave your holiness because they like get all high and mighty and then just kind of like dismiss you.
Okay, so there's one other really quick thing I want to add is how to someone of the other suit, how to speak their language. And we're going to put that in the format of a question. So we covered the heart. You say, how are you feeling? And what are your emotional needs right now? And they'll be like, oh my God, I feel like you can see me. And then the club, they want to know what they think. Like, how do you analyze this situation? And, you know, how do you separate this all out and synthesize it? And what is the meaning you can take from this? And what do you think? And if you want to make a diamond feel loved, you say, what do you think we should do? What is the highest value that can be expressed here? What's the priority? Are you doing this, Candy? Because you're like, you're right on the money.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think is the most important thing here? It's like, oh my God, I have to train my husband to ask me that because that would feel really good. And the spade, you ask them, what should we do right now? What's the big picture? What do we need to do? How can we take action? They're already off doing it because they're like, they don't have time for you, wait around for you to figure it out. But
if you jump on our website, if you want to get your kit, which helps you analyze your entire hand, there's also a whole bunch of stuff in there about the suits and how they interact with each other. And then a step kind of beyond this, which I'm sure we'll do another video on, the royal archetypes and how you, like as a club, I can step into the queen of clubs or the king of clubs or the jack of clubs. And that's a whole different like personality that I put on and how all of those interact with each other. So that's especially effective in like romantic relationships. But all of that stuff is in your kit. So if you go look up your card, you'll be at your one-stop shop and you'll be able to find that information on the kit there. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for watching this episode of Dear Kismet. We would love it if you would subscribe and share. Go to our website, itiskismet.com, to learn more about the Cardology Conference in Vegas in October, to look up your card and cosmic connections, and to ask Dear Kismet a question.